Today on the show we have Pattee Lebner with us, and we're very fortunate. Welcome, Pattee.
Thank you for having me.
Pattee is a jewelry designer, a jewelry line that she's just started, and she's also an optics design and consultant engineer for Chanel and Valentino. And Pattee's going to tell us more about the amazing work that she does. So Pattee, I'm going to start by asking you, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Montreal, Canada, and in the 80s I went to BU and started a career at Boston University, and through going to school I did windows in Kenmore Square for a little boutique called Rondi, which is now a hair salon in Kenmore Square, still there but across the street. And I started doing windows there, and it just kept moving and growing, and that's how I put myself through college. And now I'm a freelance visual merchandiser in Boston, Metro West and Boston area for Chanel and Valentino. And this job entails doing windows and interior merchandising, which means every couple weeks the store will be re-merchandised in a manner that is most appealing for our customers to make it look fresh and new as merchandise comes in. On the side, I am presently making jewelry, and there
of which we have some lovely examples here.
Which is
beautiful.
An array. No two pieces are alike, and it's just
and they're all handcrafted.
They're all handcrafted.
So all the wiring in between all the pieces you do yourself.
Yes, all the wiring, all the purchasing of all the beads, many bead shows,
right? Many
contacts throughout all over the country. And it's my way of doing a window at home at night. I get the same feeling of accomplishment, because to do an art form and be able to begin, have a middle and an end, and then wear it is a great feeling. To believe in what you do and feel comfortable and be able to wear your art.
Exactly. That's a nice, satisfying feeling.
It really is. It is.
And so, how did you know that you wanted to be in this business of the business of optics and visual design? And was it something that you sort of knew and felt as you were growing up when you were little?
I remember in Montreal, Canada, where there are some of the most beautiful windows during Christmas, that I would sit. I had a nanny, and she would actually, I remember she would sit on a hydrant, and she was very large, and she would just perch up on a hydrant and watch me watch the windows, because they were windows that were mechanical, and they were settings that, like, I just couldn't imagine that people would actually do this. And I remember being 8 years old, seeing, like, watching each detail and paying attention to every teeny tiny movement, what was being shown, just all the mechanism behind it. It intrigued me. Hours I would sit watching, and that would be throughout the Christmas season.
Right.
So that is sort of a starting point. And then as I traveled with my family and around, I would always notice if we would go shopping, there would be someone doing a visual, and I would always sort of gravitate to that person. So I really knew when I came here in the 80s that this was something that I wanted to do. So I did it starting in Kenmore Square. I remember I did her window, Rondi's window, and it was full day from the minute they opened till the minute they closed for $20. And it was the most amazing feeling to get paid for something that I love to do. And to this day, thankfully, it's a little more than $20 for the day, but it's the same feeling after a day.
And so does it take you the entire day to, like, set up the window?
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's every day?
No,
or is
like,
it just...
There's a period where, like, every couple of months, every maybe 8 weeks, that the windows will change in entirety. And this process takes more than one day.
Is it weekdays, weekends?
It's Sundays.
Sundays.
It's Sundays, and in some locations where I go, it will be during an off hour, not during the prime time shopping flow. So this process of doing a window is very, very intense, and I prepare myself in like a trance on the way, like on a Sunday on the way, and I'll get in a zone. Actually starts on Saturday. I get in a zone, I make sure I have everything. I get to the job, I have an installer that helps me, and we just like, it's like a symphony.
Right.
The way we
and so in your mind, do you put it on paper, or is it all in your mind, and
well,
the planning and figuring out what the window's going to look like?
Right now, most of the retail on the higher end is all global derivative from either Italy or Paris. So there's a global directive, and then each of us in our areas get to exhibit the way we feel we can do this installation geared to our location.
And so there's a theme.
There's a theme. The props are sent from New York, sometimes from Paris. Mostly they're made in the US, and they get sent to each location, or they're sent from Italy and they get sent directly from Italy. It depends on what the season is. But generally it's a few months ahead of everybody. Like now I'm going to be entering pre-fall, which we haven't even wore bathing suits yet.
We haven't gotten to summer.
So I'm going to be installing fall starting next week.
Wow. And then within that scope, you can take your, you have artistic license to do whatever you feel like with the window within those parameters.
There are guidelines, we stick to them as best as possible, but there's a lot of leeway.
So the visuals, the optics of the stores are somewhat like your jewelry, where no two pieces are alike?
Yes, that's exactly correct.
That's awesome. So what made you decide to come here in the 80s? Why Boston?
Well, I went to Boston University. I was in McGill, and it was Christmas vacation, and I said I got accepted to BU, but I didn't even, at that time I got accepted, I don't even think I even replied. I just think I just chose McGill. And in the middle of this first year, middle of the semester, I contacted BU and they said, come. I wrote a letter, like maybe a paragraph or two, handwritten, no email, no computers, sent it in, and they said, come. So in January 1st or 2nd, I drove the car from Montreal with my mother, landed at BU, and from there it's been a love relationship from that point when I stood ground in BU.
And then you just never left Boston after that.
Great place.
And what did your family think of your career choice?
Well, back then, I'm not sure parents were as instrumental and as forceful and as involved as now.
That helicopter parenting is a relatively new thing.
I think I did not grow up like that. I'm a self-made girl. I did, and I was never pushed as a child. I had freedom to do as I chose when I chose to do it. So this was all some kind of wiring that's just been built inside of me. There really hasn't been that many role models in the workforce in my family at that time. But now things are changing because my daughter, sister-in-law's daughters, we're all working happily, working.
And are there other people? Is there anyone else in your family who's in the arts?
Well, my whole family is in the arts. For example, my husband used to help me at a lot of the installs that I had, and now he's instructed me to get someone new because he's retired from visual. But not really fully, just physically, but not mentally at all.
Is he in the optics field as well?
Well, he's actually a real estate developer at this moment, but he's an inventor. And so we all have a very strong creative force. He invented a bandage to replace sutures, which is revolutionary in the medical industry, which is changing the way wounds are, are mended. So that's revolutionary.
Oh, how exciting.
So that's it's a very creative, that was a very creative process. Started on a Dunkin' Donuts coffee
napkin.
Lid.
Yeah, lid.
Lid to make the actual medical device. So the art is really, life is art and art is life. It's all around us. It just depends on how you want to channel the art.
That's so interesting. Wow, what a great philosophy. It's a great outlook. So let me ask you this, and what inspired you to start in this area, in this field? Did you have a professor or someone who mentored you, or who said, you know, you'd be really good at this, why don't you try?
Well, it's very interesting that you ask about mentors, because my first job at Filene's, there was a man named Steve Vieser, And I sat outside his office at Filene's Downtown Crossing for many hours until he hired me to be a trimmer during the summer, which meant just do back wall trimming. Like if there were flowers that needed to be cut and pasted, I did that.
Yeah.
So I don't even think that I was employed. I think it was an internship, and I wouldn't leave until he actually hired me. And when I do see him in the city, because he has antique dealers, and when I see him at Brimfield a couple of years ago, he remembers that day. And as far as mentors, there were none, because after that, wherever I went, the general feeling from one visual boss that I had was that I should get married and have babies and live in Newton, was what he told me. So there weren't that many mentors, and I think we have our mentors within ourselves and a drive within each soul to be able to sort of rocket past some of the negatives that are out there. One needs to be their own strongest mentor.
So finding your passion, as trying many different things and finding what drives you and your passions as soon as possible in your life.
Sure, and if there is an obstacle or someone that discourages you and says you should pick a different route, you can't listen, because there's a force inside of you that only you know where your path will follow.
And that's so amazing that you say that. I'm sure that Wellesley High School students listening to this would be very inspired listening to that.
Well,
because they're the graduating class this year. I'm sure they're all thinking about what to do next. Should they go to college? Should they take time off? They're thinking about what drives them and their passions.
And I think that the most significant choice that they can make is to really listen to their interior lining and really connect with what is best for each person, because each person is individual. This is not like a global thing. This is your own self. You know best, and you can't be swayed by what people think that you should do. If your family thinks you should do this, but there's something inside you that wants to do something else, I think that you should listen to that. And I really believe that kids coming out of high school right now, they're smarter than I was, so I'm sure they'll be even more successful, but listen to the inside speak volumes and follow that.
That is good advice. And along those same lines, I should ask you, this is the 50th year for the feminist movement. It's 2013 is the 50th anniversary. And so I think we all think about how times were for our mothers and grandmothers, and we think of how times are now. And I was going to ask you, what is your opinion on where you think women are today?
Well, I'm just looking forward to a woman president. That's where women are going today. Women have some kind of intuition, and I'm not saying men don't, because there are many men that do, as I saw one today with so much wisdom in a yoga class. The advice he gave us to practice and the words he said were inspiring. So men, we need men, but men need women, and women need to have a voice and be able to speak and express themselves as best they want. So anything the man can do, a girl can do too.
And how do you what advice would you have, and how would you advise women on juggling having a career and having children and moving to Newton and having the babies, and then doing the kind of career that you do, or having the lifestyle that you have? And I'm sure your days are very busy.
Well, I can say that chaos can come into that plate that's overfilled. I'm not even sure a plate as big as this table would fill up all of the things that happen in the course of a day. There's so much. But if you believe in yourself that you can do it, you have the power to rise above those crumbling moments. For example, the phone is ringing, it's a boss. The email, you did something wrong at work. The kids, an email from school, or pick me up, or take me here, or sick relative that we're, some of us are unfortunate and yet fortunate to have in our lives, where we need to care for. And making dinner. And going to work from 9 to 5, or sometimes I work 9 to 9. The village has to help. Like, for example, support is great, but during those overwhelming times, if you breathe in peace and exhale fear, you can get through. And that's what I do. And if I didn't breathe, which is free and very accessible, to breathe really inside to your core, you will not lose it. If you do not breathe, you will end up on getting extra additional help from the medical world. But I believe a way to avoid getting there is to really just burn a flame inside of you that can be stronger than all the stuff going on outside.
And I'm going to take it that you're a very strong believer in yoga.
I am. I'm a strong believer in yoga. I'm mind-body. I believe that if your mind and your body can operate together, I believe there's success there, because at times the mind is an organ that is very almost deadly, powerful. It can ruin.
It can stop you from doing things that normally you should be able to handle.
Yes. So the mind and if the body is strong enough and fit enough, the body can overpower the mind and vice versa, I believe.
Yeah. So, and so, for example, like when your kids were young, and were you working the whole time while your children were young, or did you take a break for a while? Or?
I had no break. I had a beautiful child, Samantha Lebner, when she was 3 weeks old. I had to install Christmas at Faneuil Hall Marketplace.
Oh, nice.
Actually, I think it was 3 days later, to be very honest with you.
So you got a 3-day maternity break?
I did.
Okay, there you go.
Took 3 days off, and I remember I had this beautiful baby, and I got up after I had the baby, and they were like freaked out because I had to go to the washroom, and I wasn't allowed, and I'm just like got up, and like it was as if a field story. You get up.
It's like, I gotta go. I have to install a window.
I gotta go, man. We gotta go. It was very difficult leaving my child at 3 days, but there was a commitment that was brewing before she came into the planet. And I'm very committed and faithful and loyal to anybody that I commit to. So, except socially, sometimes those plans need to be juggled. But in terms of work, if there's a job to be done, it must get done. And happily. And 3 days after having a baby, I mean, your brain is definitely like twirling in another zone. But the halls were decked in Faneuil Hall, and it was great. And my daughter has had a very nice work ethic as a result, because she sees that
she sees you as a role model. That
she does.
That the show must go on.
It must go on, regardless of what is happening in even such a milestone, such a life-changing event. So I have worked since the day my kids were born, and it doesn't mean I don't love them more. I love them as much as I possibly can love human beings, but it's not the quantity, it's the quality that I give to them when I'm with them. It's 100% all the time. And
what is your daughter? I'm sure she must be older now.
She's 16.
And what does she want to do with herself?
Well, it's very interesting. Right now she works at LF, and she's happy to be involved in their community, which is a beautiful store in Wellesley that believe in her, and she markets for them during sale, and she helps them when needed. And this is a place where she connects very well to and with. And she's also a sculptor, and she's at Wellesley High, and she's trying to manage and get through what she's going through, which is high school is a lot more difficult than it was when I went to high school. So there's a lot of pressure that the high school kids are going through, and the environment that they step into after they graduate is also very challenging. And that's why you need to surround yourself with people that are going to encourage this next generation.
And does she have a good set of teachers that she likes? And,
she does.
At high school, who like encourage her? And
it's very motivating for her there.
Oh, good. That's
very
awesome.
Nice environment.
We like to be on top of that here in Wellesley.
It's she terms it best. It is the friendliest strangers she's ever met.
Well, that's lovely. That's awesome.
So that's a great tidbit. It's like a bumper sticker.
Absolutely.
Friendliest strangers.
Right.
You can't know everybody. There's
Right.
1,500 kids.
Right.
But I know the people that we have met and the faculty couldn't be finer.
That's great. And that's also a 1,500 strong community
Yes.
of people.
Very
So
strong.
even if you don't know someone very well, you have some kind of familiarity that you've seen them around, and
yes.
you know,
Friendly.
so you have that connection.
Yes, it's very nice.
That's so nice. So Pattee, tell us about something about how these pieces get made, and how long it takes you to make one, and what's your inspiration for each piece?
My inspiration for each piece is,
How does that come about?
like, this new tribal thing is something new for me, that I'm so into tribal.
And by tribal, you mean the combination of large and small beads, or the number of strands, or
maybe more like a bit of India, a bit of Africa, a bit of this section of the world, a bit more rustic. I go in different directions depending on the hour of the day.
Right.
It's
right.
like, this is white coral, and I saw this strand hanging somewhere, and I'm like, I have to have that. So I guess whatever is in front of me is what I need to just sort of express at that moment. Like right now, your earrings are really inspiring
So
me.
what am I making? I mean, what am I wearing here? Oh, right.
The stone,
Yes,
the semi-precious.
it's an agate.
Yeah, so I'm very, like stone, I'm very inspired by stone, and gold right now is something that like this was this week. So I was in a lapis thing, and now I'm in, like, traveling into a gold thing right now. So weekly, it changes.
Right. Oh, how interesting. And what was some of the stories behind these pieces here?
Well, these pieces are this pearl inspiration. I love the pearls. Coco Chanel loved the pearls. The pearls live strong, and I feel they are such a strong, elegant statement, and every woman feels so great to have pearls on. And these pearls, some are semi-precious, and some are glass, and it really doesn't matter to me if they're pearl, or if they're glass, or if they're fresh water. To me, the color, the luster, the way it looks with hardware coming out of it is just beautiful to me.
It's like a sculpture.
It is.
Wearable art,
It
wearable
is.
jewelry, sculpture.
It's I don't think you can go wrong with a set of pearls.
Well, that's awesome. And how long does it take you to make something like this? I see there's quite a lot of hardware.
Well, there is. Those
in
are
some of those pieces there with the wires.
It's
that
all
you have to
wire
twist.
wrapped,
Right.
and it's just almost like knitting, except there are tools, and there's wire, and there are beads, and it could take 4
the
hours.
length of a sweater, for example.
Yeah, exactly. It could take a week, because things are coming up, so I'm on and off with a lot of things.
Right.
So I'm started, I put it down, and at night I'll pick it up, and it's really sporadic timing, but I don't really sit for like hours at a time. It's little intervals when I need a release, and so then I'll make it, and after I make it, I put it on, and it's so rewarding.
Right. And do you ever find that sometimes you'll start a project, and then halfway through you will decide to take it apart?
No.
Or change it completely?
Well, this one actually, I just finished this a couple days ago, and I was thinking I'm going to take it apart because there's some things, like I did actually when there wasn't enough light, so there are some black pieces mixed within the blue. But it could be characteristic of just the art, but I never undone anything. I've always just, it's supposed to be what it's supposed to be. But this one I might take apart because the lapis is so expensive, and they're such great pieces that I might, but I've never done it. I've always supported and stood by everything that I make.
Right.
Because if I didn't make it, then like I wouldn't like it. Like I made it, so I like it. Like generally the food you make, you like, unless you're trying a recipe. You tend to not make the food that you don't like. You usually make the things that you like.
Sure, because you want to eat it.
And you want to wear it, and you want to sell it.
You want it to taste the way it should taste.
You know? So
that's so interesting. So I have a little piece of trivia for you. In architecture, the Mughals, who built much of North India with the Red Fort and all the large construction, the Taj Mahal, the construction projects that they did, Their superstition is that everything has to be mathematically precise, to the point where once you start construction, you cannot undo what you've done. So there will be, after the building is complete, the project's complete, they don't change anything, even if it's a mistake. It's got to be the way it is. So they were extremely, they put a lot of thought into precision for that reason. So it's very interesting that your jewelry is sort of somewhat like that.
But I'm sure that they, like, I have no method behind the madness. Their method is so detailed.
I think it's in the vision, right?
It's the vision.
And that's a common thing that's shared, is the vision.
And that's a great trivial pursuit. I love it. Thank you for sharing that with me.
So tell us about the necklace that you're wearing. Is that something you bought, or
No,
something you put together?
This is something I put together. Mr. Wu, a beautiful pearl dealer, he had many coral necklace, like strands hanging, and I just saw this long white one, and Lana, his associate, I said, Lana, what is that white long coral? And she's like, leave it to Pattee Lebner to come up and see that long strand. I said, I need that strand right there.
And then you interspersed it with the other beads that are on it right now.
Yes, they're white coral as well. And I knew when I saw that strand
what it was going to be.
It would be this.
Right.
And it's very rare. It's hard to find long white pieces.
And that's why you have the vision.
Yes, there's the vision is crucial.
Right, absolutely.
Without the vision, there are senses that kick in, of course.
Right.
But for me, the vision, I'll see it and I'll just go and
you'll know.
I'll know
what it's going to grow up to be.
Just like you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Pattee. This was so lovely having you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I could chat with you for hours.
Well, we'll do that. We'll have to have a repeat.
I would love to visit you anytime.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much.